The story for today comes from the Reddit user mikadomikaela. I looked after my brother's house, and now I'm terrified. My brother and I have always had a good relationship since we were kids. He and I bonded over video games and wrestling. Those were some of the best years of my life. But alas, we both grew up and had our own lives to live. He had a job that has him traveling from time to time. He doesn't go into details, so I don't exactly know the specifics. He always seemed so uneasy when we asked. I used to joke about him having a secret wrestling career, which seemed to lighten up the mood. A few years ago, he asked me to look after his house while he was away. I had just come out of college and he was willing to pay me $1,000 for just 1 week. So of course I accepted. A part of him seemed reluctant to give me the keys, so I assured him I wouldn't have any parties or trash the place. He smiled slightly and handed me the keys before hugging me tighter than ever before. The first 2 days were fine. I'd sleep in a huge bed with pillows that felt like clouds and wake up into the sound of one of the neighbors working on their garden. Their garden was beautiful, and he was too. He had chocolate brown hair that slightly covered one of his eyes. His eyes in general were a sight, the most amazing shade of green. His body wasn't bad either. At one point I swore he looked up to me and smiled, but he didn't talk to me until the 3rd day of my stay. He knocked on the door and introduced himself as Damien. I felt at peace in the moment, like he was a good person to be around. Things continued on, and during the rest of the day, he and I would talk and go on dates. I felt like I've known him for years. He explained he was a good friend of my brother's and actually told me that he was my brother's boss. He said that the job was like a delivery service which required him to go away from time to time. It sounded like a scam, but I couldn't believe it. It was coming from somebody like him. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt. My brother came home after the week and asked me some questions. He still seemed so uneasy and I couldn't understand why. I explained how I've gotten on really well with his friend Damien. His eyes seemed to widen more and I thought it was just him being a normal brother. Years went by and I married Damien. Everyone was surprised that I managed to get someone so kind and handsome. Damien would always lie and say others say the same to him. My marriage with him seemed perfect, but I noticed that day by day, Damien would become more clingy and attached to me. Sometimes I felt like his food source, like he needed to love me to survive. I would fall asleep to his loving green eyes staring at me and wake up to those same green eyes. My brother kept the same look of unease whenever I saw him, especially when Damien was with me. It was like he saw what I saw, the hunger in those green eyes. After a while, my brother quit his job with him and moved away. I asked both of them if something had happened, and they said no. From then on, Damien seemed to feel worse. Everywhere I went, he was there, watching me, making sure I was okay. I was never alone. I came clean to one of my friends and she offered to take me on a small trip, which I agreed to. I didn't pack any bags and borrowed some of my friend's clothes, so I knew that he wouldn't be able to follow me as easy. I sent him a message explaining what was going on so he wouldn't worry. Luckily, my plan worked. I had an amazing time and being alone for a bit really helped. It was when I returned home that things took a turn. Something about our house seemed off to me, but I knew I had to go inside. Part of me missed Damien and the love he gave me. I opened the door and turned on the light. My name was scratched across the walls, furniture was everywhere, and my heart sunk into my stomach. I searched the house and finally came to our bedroom, the door slightly ajar. I saw Damien wrapped in a nest of my clothes. He slowly turned to face me and he smiled a toothy smile. As he started to get up, something in me told me to run. I heard booming footsteps behind me and his croaky voice calling my name. I came out of the door and saw my brother in a car waiting for me. I quickly hopped in and he tried to drive, but Damien came to my side of the car. He clung on to me as my brother drove the car. He swerved the car, trying to get Damien off me, but in the end, all three of us crashed. I woke up inside of a hospital beside Damien and my brother. The doctor said that I was lucky I hadn't lost some of my memory like the other two had. I remembered every piece of that night. Both of them woke up and seemed so normal. Damien still loved me, but he was tame, and he didn't seem insane. My brother forgot who Damien was, but remembered me. My injuries healed before the two of them, and I sold the house after covering any traces of what happened. Damien and I had a happy marriage since then. But sometimes, in the corner of my eye, I swear to God, I see those green eyes and that wide, toothy smile. The end. This has been Grey Stories. I hope you liked them. Good night.